Oh, we've got some people sitting here already. That was quick. What's your name?
Edouard. Edouard.
Okay, we've got Edra. We've got
Claire.
who else do we have kind of lingering on the outside? We've got Edra, we've got Claire, we've got...
Hi, my name is Justin.
Hello, welcome, Justin. And we've got people kind of half thinking whether they should join in or not. What's your name?
Samira.
Samira and Edra, we've got you on Edra.
Vanita.
Anita and Margot, and this is a pop-up talk show. Basically, it's very simple. It's basically what you want to talk about, and I'm passing the microphone around. That is all that happens here. Do you have any subjects? What should we start with? Nothing from you. Any subjects around this table? I've got a new face.
I heard fish and chips.
Chips, okay, fish and chips. Rick is connecting the camera, so we're going to take our time just to kind of keep it going. Do you have any subjects you want to throw in? Is it going to be about John Baker since it is his memorial? Is it something about that you mentioned your experience about the Aberfeldy as the area? Is it about the aspirations? Is it about aiming high, having role models? Where shall we take this? Question to anybody.
About local heroes, because maybe it sounds like John was a local hero.
Local heroes, yes, we could take it in that direction. Wonder if John liked fish and chips. Local heroes, I mean, are there any local heroes they currently admire? Do you have any heroes?
No.
No, fair enough. Any heroes? Any heroes?
Any heroes? Local heroes?
We can go further afield.
Yeah. The only one is John Baker. He's the only one that I remember as being a local hero, to be honest. He carried on, he continued.
So John Baker as the local hero. I mean, is there something that, is this the right description? Is it about having heroes? Like, what is this?
I just wanted to say that if we talk about local heroes, I would make it open to maybe us Earth, because Earth is pretty local to us, isn't it? And I'm not from here, so I wouldn't call myself local, but in my local area, I see a lot of mothers, and I think they are heroes. Like, just to see them multitasking with so many kids, it's crazy.
So I'm going to take 2 points from what you said, Laura. One is, why stop on Aberfeldy Street? Why not consider local, a bit of a bigger picture? Is Earth, are you local to Earth? Laura says you are. Also, are mums getting enough of a recognition for being heroes? I mean, what do you think about this? Mums, are they heroes?
Yeah.
In what kind of way are they heroes? How, if you were to kind of describe it, how is your mum a hero?
I don't know.
I'll come back to you. Yes, John.
Yes, it is my name today. I heard you say, I wasn't going to talk at this moment, but I asked you to say, is John a hero? I would say, he wouldn't say he was, but he was a hero in the true classical sense, as somebody who took on the plight of all those who were not able to look after themselves. And not only did he fight for them, but he gave them the tools to fight for themselves and the courage to hold on to their beliefs. So if that's a definition of a hero, yes, he was, and it's a shame there are not more like him.
Okay, it's an interesting question. Is this a definition of a hero? Like, what is the definition of a hero anyway? And do heroes know they're heroes? I mean, apparently you're a hero. Do you know? Does it feel like that for you? I mean, Ezra just said.
To lead in any way I can, to believe in a vision that you have not only for yourself, but as a mum, naturally, you're going to have that for your children.
So when you're a hero, when you kind of feel like you're on the right track, like you feel it, like hero is a feeling. What do you think about this, Samir? Do you feel like a hero?
I don't know about hero, but
Heroine.
Heroine, perhaps, maybe, yeah. But I think all mothers are, because you have to, a lot of mothers are selfless. And I think it's everyone's definition of hero, because you can be a hero to some people and a villain to another. So it depends on your level of hero, like who you can define as a hero.
Normally, I mean, for a couple of years we have a sound effects pad, which we didn't connect today, just out of respect. But I wish I had the sound effects pad, because there's this kind of ominous sound effect. A hero for some, a villain to others. Is it as extreme as that? Can it be extreme? Like, can you give us an example? Like, is there anyone maybe that you have in mind who's like maybe a hero for you, or a villain to you, but hero to others?
I don't know, because I think with human beings, like their perception of other people, it depends on like their interactions with them. Because even some people from the past that don't really have much of a great image or have done horrible things, to some people it might be, they're heroes, they're great role models. To other people they might not be, because they've created devastation or done immense things that have tainted world history, you know. But to some people they might be defined as a hero, but it depends on your level of who you can define as a hero, yeah.
So kind of being a hero, and whether you're a villain or whether you're a hero, a positive character, that really depends on your own kind of perspective. You know, it's really kind of depending on people. I mean, like, what do you make of this, Justin? Do you have any views about heroes? Are you a hero? Do you know any?
I tend not to use the terms hero and villain. I find them a little bit too absolute. I like the term anti-hero. What's an anti-hero? An anti-hero is a flawed hero. Then I suppose you can have an anti-villain as well, which is a villain with heroic qualities. Yeah, with some heroic and noble qualities. So I think it's useful to look upon this more of a spectrum, a nuanced view of things, not so absolute.
I mean, sorry to like grill you on this. I'm really interested in this idea of like anti-hero. It's a hero, but he's also, or she's a little bit bad. Or the anti-hero, which is terrible, but also a little bit good. I like that. Just you're kind of changing the proportions. But I mean, can I grill you on this? Who is like an anti-hero? Do you know any? Could you like give us a name? Don't worry, we're not gonna like knock on the door. Just curious.
Well, I think the term originates really in literature and film. I mean, you think of sort of film noir detectives as anti-heroes. They were kind of cynical and they were a bit ruthless. They weren't afraid to beat people up, but they had their own code of honour. So that's where I think of the term as applying.
So local detectives, film noir. I mean, Claire, do you know any kind of anti-heroes? What do you think about this idea of, you know, I don't know, I want to use the word bastardizing the definition. So it's a hero, but it's an anti-hero.
Okay, I think people are complex, so they're capable of doing heroic things and they're capable of probably doing terrible things. You know, there's different layers to people. So when I guess my definition of heroism would be thinking beyond yourself, or kind of putting into action something that benefits not just yourself, or or that helps other people in some way, or has some kind of positive legacy. In terms of an anti-hero, I've just watched this really interesting series about the Watergate affair called Gaslit. Don't know if and it's about the peripheral characters in that situation, one of them being a woman called Martha Mitchell, who was a very flawed character but basically exposed the lies and wouldn't stop exposing the lies even though she got totally discredited. But what she did was very heroic, but she wasn't a perfect human being.
So there's a bit of a so it's a kind of mixed reviews of Martha and her deeds, maybe.
I think her deeds were amazing. I think people are capable of amazing deeds. But it doesn't mean they are a perfect person at all times. Yeah.
So it's kind of like fighting against the myth of perfection. Also, John, Per, are you leaving us? Do you need any assistance? You've got it. Do you have any final thoughts? Shout them out.
I think my final thoughts would be what John Baker would have said to you: live life to the full, it's the only one we've got.
Thank you very much. Thank you for handing the mic. We do need young producers and mic handlers all the time as the people speak. Okay, so I mean, this is still Talkaoke. Bernie and Roger, you are ignoring me, just showing off your legs to each other, whatever this is. Sorry, we were talking about maybe debunking the myth of perfection. You don't have to be a perfect person, you can be just a human person.
I was interested in what you said. I'm quite interested in the Watergate affair myself. I'm not familiar with this program that you've mentioned. When I went to Washington DC about 20 years ago. My very first port of call was the Watergate building, which didn't actually quite live up to what I imagined it to be. But anyway, could you just talk us through what was Margaret Mitchell's role in the affair? Because I'm not that familiar with.
Okay, so there's some more grilling happening on New Declare. I mean, do you know anything about this situation?
No. It'd be.
Me neither. Can you keep it?
I will, of course. Yeah. So if you want to find out, just watch this series. It's an 8-part. It's a dramatisation, but there's documentaries as well. So people know about the journalists from the Washington Post who exposed Watergate. But Margaret Mitchell was married to the former Attorney General of President Nixon, and he was also in charge of his re-election campaign. So she would often eavesdrop on her husband's conversations, and she was campaigning for Nixon. When she found out about, the lies and the break-in and the cover-up, she decided she wanted to expose it. But they basically said she was mad, alcoholic, hysterical, and completely discredited her. And it's only in more recent times that people have understood her role in exposing Nixon. But watch the series, it's really good.
Okay, so we've got like a bit of a kind of run through of the history of Watergate, also vilifying women who are trying to whistleblow on something. But I also wonder, where did you watch this film?
It's on, Apple TV, so I guess that's not everyone has that, which is a bit of a bummer. But there are other documentaries. If you Google Margaret Mitchell, there's even a saying now called the Margaret Mitchell effect, which is when someone is saying something's true and they're being told that no, it's not. They're just completely crazy, but it actually ends up being true.
Okay, so I'm just going to kind of open up a little bit because you mentioned about documentaries, but do you think that I'm just going to try to link up? Do you think we could make a documentary? Well, would Netflix or Apple TV be interested in filming something on Aberfeldy? Like what's going down on Aberfeldy Street? What is worth doing a documentary about? Is John Baker one of them? Are you one of them?
Maybe.
What would you make a documentary about?
I think the transition of Aberfeldy, maybe, perhaps. The change of the area and I think the many lives as well, because there's so many different people and it's like a melting the heart up. I call it a village. Aberfeldy is like a village, it's like a cut-off village, but definitely you can find the film, maybe perhaps called Aberfeldy Village.
Aberfeldy Village. I mean, is this title going to do it justice? I mean, what's the title of the film you were talking about? Gaslit, or Aberfeldy Village. Which one would you watch? Which documentary would you watch? Aberfeldy Village or Gaslit?
Aberfeldy Village.
You would watch that? Okay. What do you think? What would you like to see in it? Like, what would it be about? What is this title going to be about?
I don't know.
Do you know where Aberfeldy Village is? Can you explain?
Aberfeldy Village is where we're sitting now. Like from. Actually, it goes big. Yeah. So this is Aberfeldy Village. Yeah, the whole.
So we're finding out that actually Aberfeldy Village is not some kind of made-up place. It's actually down here. Would you want to make a film about what happens around here? What would you say? Somebody who doesn't know Aberfeldy, like what goes on here? Like what is the kind of the vibe? Vanita? What's the Aberfeldy vibe?
The vibe. family. Well, at the moment feels it feels quiet at the moment. Yeah, it seems like it's a lot more detached, but due to the development recently, I have noticed a lot more people coming together with the shops, because a lot of the people that actually work in these spaces grew up here. So you find a lot more people, even when you're passing, people actually have the time to talk and communicate, or like, just interact. So it would be nice to see people's realities, people's lives, how they live, how they get by on a day-to-day basis. I think we're missing that. That would be nice. That would be nice to see.
What's that?
Just people's realities, people's lives.
So maybe it's some kind of like a documentary where it's, seemingly not much happens, but there's a lot happening in people's individual lives, the interactions. So maybe it's one of those, I don't know, like Scandinavian makes me think kind of documentaries where you kind of zoom in, like a psychological portrait. But what do you think about this idea of Aberfeldy, the Netflix series?
Well, as an outsider, I mean, whenever I come here, I just get a really strong sense of a community cooperating and working together and supporting each other. I love this street. I think I always feel really positive when I come here, from the art, from the public artwork to all these different sort of community hubs like this one, the pub. I can see your future Aberfeldy across the street. I don't know what that is. Obviously, the people speak.
It's been shut for a little while. I don't know what is going on there. No, I know.
But I don't know if anyone ever saw, there was a documentary made a few years ago called The Street, about Hoxton Street, and that was very much about how that street was changing according, like you just talked about, the development. So there were obviously long-term residents who lived there for a long time, people who were coming in and running new businesses, and how all of that was kind of working together, and it was a beautiful documentary. So maybe something like that.
Okay, so I mean, what do you think about this idea of maybe creating something that's unique to Aberfeldy, maybe kind of following some of the individual stories, maybe do something, not a remake, but that seems to be like an established genre, just like focusing on the locality, or linking back to what Laura said earlier, local, what does it mean? Like earth, like we live on this earth, like what's local anymore? I mean, how narrow should a documentary portraying a community go? Like who would be, what is the kind of circle of people involved? You said you're self-proclaimed outsider, Claire. Would there be a little part for Claire coming from? Where are you coming from?
Well, I live in Rotherhithe, but I know, right? But I do know, obviously, the people speak, and I've met a few other characters. I mean, Aberfeldy has a lot of characters, so I think you could just even take one or two of those and make a really interesting story.
So we've got the characters on Aberfeldy Street. We can talk about that. We can talk about making a documentary. We can talk about Aberfeldy Village. Like, what is it? What's the vibe? What's going on there? Is it good for young boys to be growing up around here? I don't know. Are the snacks good?
That's good.
Were they okay? How many stars? Yeah? Okay. 5 out of 5?
5 out of 10.
So there's a big room for improvement. Come on and welcome. This is Talkaoke. Yeah, very high standards. I mean, maybe we could have done better with the snacks. I don't know. So there's another subject. On public gatherings, what kind of snacks are good enough?
I just made an observation. Sorry, wing. Yeah. One of the things that I've noticed as well, areas of deprivation, you do see a lot of like more junky, junk food. Not junk food, but like fast food. You won't have also like organic shops or shops like health shops. You'll see more like gambling places that have gambling, a lot of fast food, a lot of things that are not great for the mind and the soul and the body. So I think that's something that needs to be worked in, because areas that have more economic wealth, visible wealth, you see a lot more like bakeries, good like healthy shops, whereas places that are like more deprived, you see a lot more junk and fast food and stuff.
Okay, so you're making a very interesting observation. By the way, welcome new faces to the table. Before I summarize what you said, actually no, I will summarize what you said because I'll forget. That's what's going to happen. I know this. You actually made an interesting observation about is the local offer in terms of food and snacks, is it varied? Is it healthy enough for people to benefit from it? Or is it, if the area is not doing so well, it's just implicit that there will be just chicken shops and snacks? I mean, our snack expert here just gave us 5 out of 10 rating for the snacks, and you know, it's a blow, but I get it. You know, I'm happy to take the critique. But anyway, so we've got this is Talkaoke, we've got Claire, we've got Ezra and
Ezekiel.
We've got Vanita, Samira, we've got Justin, and we've got Laura, and we've got
Jenny. Caroline.
and Caroline. So at the moment, and I'm Margot, and this is Talkaoke. It is a pop-up talk show still. Nothing's changed. 25 years on, it's still the same format. We like to stay consistent, but improvise within the structure. So at the moment, we're talking about local heroes. We were here earlier for a memorial of John Baker, very important local character. We talked about would Netflix be interested in... Roger, are you going? Will you give us your final thought? Sorry, this is something we'll also do. We trap people.
I've got too many faults, so I can't finalise it. I'm just selfish and everything. But he was one of the best, John. He's old school, and he had time for everybody, time for me. And when I first met him over in the carpenter's workshop there, he had a family, a beautiful, lovely black family, children, and they all loved him and kissed him, and he was like the godfather to them, and he was helping them stop. He was stopping them being ejected from the country and doing all these things. So I knew he was special. And I was privileged to be so close to him in so many ways, but not on the levels of many youth people, but on a practical level. He showed me how to do things. And
Can I ask you a question?
please, sir.
Just because we were talking about documentaries, Claire was talking about documentary she was watching, and then she mentioned about documentary made about Hoxton Street, then we talked about local heroes, Aberfeldy Village, and do you think Netflix would be interested in a documentary about John Baker?
Well, without a doubt, yeah, certainly, definitely. And if you want me to put something into that, I'll be most happy to.
Okay, great. I mean, would there be any side characters? I mean, would we be in it, or would you be in it? Who would play you?
A what player? I'm good at playing cards, but apart from snooker as well, so really good at snooker. But I don't know. The thing about John and the people I've met today that I didn't know, especially Margaret and the rest of the people that I've met, and I knew a few of the people here. You're all lovely people. You're just your own self. You don't put on any airs and graces, and nor did John. But he had the ability to be gentrified and aloof, but he never was once, ever. He was always a gentleman, and I never stopped seeing him in his lovely hats. Fantastic. With his cats.
Yeah, thank you very much for this, Roger. Have a lovely evening, and thank you so much for dropping by and sharing your thoughts. Okay, and so that's it really. I mean, this was a final thought, classic example of somebody I've got nothing to say and saying loads. But this is Talkaoke, so we can take it in any direction you guys want. So we can talk about the food offer. Is it just it's just how it is. If the area is poor, there's going to be loads of crap food outlets. That's just how it is. Live with it. Are we going to be making documentary about this area? We can talk about local heroes. We can mention John Baker as it is. His memorial was earlier on. But also, what else we talked about? We talked about the idea of local. Like, what is local? Like, is this street local? Laura says, like, we're earthlings. The earth is local to us. So what about that? Is it a question of scale? And that's I've finished summing up. That's all I've got going. So I'm going to look to you to tell me which direction you would like to take this conversation. I'm going to spin. Justin, you've got my back.
I participated in something recently that really opened my eyes, and that was this talking about local, and it's now a global village. And it was a VR experience where you went to a location and you met people there and you talked to them. And this person could be anywhere, and you're connected by the location, the shared interest of whatever that may be. It may be people that like to hear about the history of Watergate, and then meet and you meet someone in California and someone. You all gather in a room and you have a chat about this. I was amazed by this. Nothing. Well, it was actually an art gallery, and we were talking about this picture. But it's just a concept of nothing's local. You could just meet anyone now and chat to them. It was amazing.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So what do you think? What do you think about this? Like nothing. Like what is local? There's nothing. Like nothing is local. If I could get my words out, nothing is local. Everything is just within the reach.
Or everything is local.
Everything is local. Earlier we were talking. We played some little linguistics there earlier, which was hero. No, you said Justin. I prefer anti-hero because it's a hero who's also a little bit bad. So we're kind of like playing with language. So everything's local, nothing's local. What do people think about this? Would you go onto VR to connect with somebody on the other side of the world, or you're like, nah?
I probably would, because I think anything that you have an interaction with is to an extent local. Because if you have the ability to communicate with something, you have the ability to connect with them. And for me, that's what it means to be local to something. So yeah.
Yeah, so you would go on the VR thing and connect?
Yeah, I probably would. Like, I think it's all about experiences, right? And that would just be an additional experience that I face. So yeah.
Okay. So Jenny's not shy. She'll go and do VR anytime. Just as long as it's a nice connection. That's what it's all about. I mean, guys, I've got a question. Have you ever done VR? Do you know what VR is?
No.
Virtual reality? No. Can somebody explain what virtual reality is?
I guess it's just the future. Yeah, it's the future, I guess. To a lot of, it's like the meta. You enter the metaverse. Like, yeah, you go you can be at your house. We're kind of slowly in it anyway. It's like Back to the Future or something like that. They go like a teleport and then they just fly off.
Okay. Is this any clearer for you? Samira, you've had a fair crack. I have to give it to you. However, I think you need to maybe. Okay, so VR, virtual reality. Come and join us. By the way, just grab a seat. Don't worry, you can just listen, but grab a chair. We like people because it keeps me warm. I'm not wearing sleeves.
I guess how I would explain it is it's like you're inside a video game. It's like you're inside, you play video games, but it's like you are inside the video game, one of the characters, and you're in that world. So it's not necessarily a physical world, but it's a world that, is virtual, but you're still experiencing it.
So it's like a computer game? I mean, do you play computer games? What kind of computer games are you playing? What characters do you have there?
Sonic.
Which games do you play?
Sonic.
Sonic the Hedgehog?
Yeah.
That's all right. Bringing back the Sonic. Are you familiar with Sonic the Hedgehog?
I'm not, no.
Okay, could you explain what this game is about? Because, by the way, I'm Margot and this is everyone. What's your name?
Ella.
Right. So Ella doesn't know what Hedgehog. What Sonic Hedgehog is about. What is this game about?
Sonic is fast. Sonic is fast. That's it.
That's it. He's fast and...
That's it.
At home, I can speak for them. We don't really play games on the TV. I believe in the classical ones, the old ones, where you sit around a table together and you interact and discuss and communicate, and dominoes. That's what we're looking into. Chess. Is it Sling Puck, which is really fun, which we played yesterday. Yeah, it's more stimulating. So virtual reality for me, I mean, it's good. There's definitely a necessity in regards to people connecting, not having to get on the plane. You can be on, you can still have a conversation with someone on the other side of the world. But at the same time, I do believe that it's very important to actually experience somebody face to face. Body has a memory, we have senses, so and it stimulates you. You remember that forever. So I feel that that's important for human connection, and it's always been. So I believe in that, to stick by that. Yeah.
I mean, you've given us quite a lot, and there's a lot of plaudits here from this side of the table. I mean, Caroline, so VR. Imagine being in VR, playing dominoes. Would you be one of the domino pieces?
Potentially. So at work, when during lockdown and we're all working from home, we use something called Gather Town, where you have a little character and you walk around a world, and that's how we would do our meetings rather than Zoom. It was very fun. Yeah. If you Google Gather Town, and one of my friends made a birthday party on there where she made different worlds that we went and explored as little characters. It's very Sonic the Hedgehog, and you can kind of walk up to people, have chats. I think I've told you about this before on another Talkaoke. So it made being online fun, but I agree with you about actually in-person contact is a very different experience, and I really value it now, this side of the pandemic for sure.
Okay, so physical experience. I mean, Ella, I think you're kind of picking up how this works, and obviously there's no pressure to speak. But I know you've got your hand up, Justin. But I just want to say, do you have anything? Does any of this?
100%. I think that like it's this idea, even that we're having a discussion about, like post-pandemic or whatever, that the virtual reality doesn't give you something that in-person connection does. I feel like that's, I don't know, like almost that happened before I even realised that was something we needed to say, you know what I mean? Like I don't know. But it's interesting that, and I think especially with the whole like metaverse craziness situation where they're just like putting us into everything's going to become virtual at some point, right?
So you're saying that actually suddenly we have to explicitly say that personal connection is important. Also, I'm noticing that Margaret is leaving. Girls, are you going? All right. Well, listen, have a lovely evening, and thank you so much for dropping by. Any final thoughts, Julie? Julie, any final thoughts?
Any final thoughts? No. It's been really lovely. Thank you for having us. There you go.
Thank you for being here. Margaret, good night, and have a lovely evening. Okay, in-person conversations happening right now as we speak. Human connection is developing here. Julie thought she's going, she's not going. But don't worry, no judgment. Okay, Justin, which direction you want to take?
I was just going to pick up on what you said, because I agree with you about actual physical board games as opposed to the computer games. But now you can actually play Monopoly life-size. If you go to Tottenham Court Road, you can actually go in and you're actually in the Monopoly board, and you're all in, there's the different costumes, there's the hat and the dog and all of that. I haven't actually done it, but quite frankly, I can't wait.
I came into this conversation a bit late because I got a little bit distracted.
Monopoly life size in Tottenham Court Road. You actually go in and you go into the Monopoly board, and you're all playing the game with all these other people in actuality.
So do you go to Mayfair? Thank you very much. I feel like I'm in a lab. This is a vase of water. Thank you. Okay, so Monopoly in real life, Monopoly of Aberfeldy Street, or what? Maybe we should do that, real life kind of thing. Sorry, it just came to me when
Say something, please.
Yes, you must. Wait, I'm just got to untangle myself.
I like Monopoly only when I win.
That's fair enough, but how do you win in Monopoly? What is your technique?
You have to be very strategic and cheat when no one's looking.
Okay, so strong points. Julie, we were just talking earlier about John Baker. Maybe you're familiar with the character. Would he be in Monopoly? Would Netflix be interested in creating a documentary about John Baker?
I think in Monopoly he'd definitely be the banker.
Because he'd be fair.
Be the banker, and he would say, well, you can have that property because, you can have that mortgage because, or it's in your best interest not to go there. I think he would be like that.
Do that.
John, yeah. Thank you. See you later. Thank you so much. I'm going to take this as your final thought. Okay, cheers, Bernie. Final thoughts from you? Just give us something. Would you play Monopoly in real life?
I'm not very good at Monopoly. I'm not very good at all. I like a game of Scrabble. Yes, that's about my extent, and that's it really. Monopoly, no. I'm not very.
What's a killer word? What's like your kind of?
Oh, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. There you go.
Thank you very much. Cheers, Bernie. We actually have been talking about board games and games that are kind of in real life. Thank you very much. Yes, that's kind of what we've been talking about Monopoly, talking about Habdi. We weren't talking about you, but you're welcome to join. And yes, and meetings and people connecting over virtual reality, people coming and meeting in gather space. But what about this human-to-human connection? Is that something that we just need to kind of keep on reiterating to people now that everything is turning digital? Does it need explanation? Is that what a hero mum does? Just says, yeah, there's the virtual reality, there's all that kind of stuff. But think about it. It's actually about dominoes, mate. That's what it's truly about. So these are the kind of subjects on the table. I'm going to do a round of names just because. What's your name?
Ezekiel.
Laura. Claire.
Jenny.
Justin.
Caroline.
Samira. Vanita.
Edra.
And I'm Margot, and we've got Rick on the cameras there, and on the punt. Yes, Laura, you had a point. Oh, sorry.
Ella.
Ella, sorry, because you were just so in the bank in my head. I was like, obviously Ella's here.
I said my name anyway, 2 minutes ago.
No, exactly. No, but thank you for reminding me of your presence in person. So we can take this conversation in direction. Laura, did you have a point, or is it gone now?
I just want to actually ask a question. If people do like playing board games nowadays, because I love board games, but not many people want to play them with me. So I don't know what's the deal. Why people don't want to play board games anymore?
Okay, do board games need a major rebrand to get people more sucked in? Justin, what do you think?
One thing that doesn't really come up, but which I feel quite strongly about, is the aim of Monopoly, and also a game called the Game of Life. I don't know if anyone's played that too, but basically the aim of both these games is to make as much money as you can, and the winner of the game is the one with the most money at the end. Well, is that really what you should be aiming for in life? Aren't there other ways of being successful?
Okay, you got like a concerted and then you got the click, so I think you're onto something. Jenny, you were nodding. You know these games? Like, what do you think about this?
I kind of agree, because so in school every lunchtime we'll play card games and stuff, purely because that's just like a way in which we all connect. But we always noticed, it's always the person who performs the best financially in several games, even games that you play online. And I think that kind of takes away from the relationships that you're building in person, because when you are playing games like Monopoly, everyone's so fixated on trying to get the most houses, get the most money and earn the most, that to an extent you're kind of losing the family or the friends connection when you're playing it. And that's partly why most of our my friendship group, we switched to playing card games and stuff, where you actually feel a connection, you're not playing against each other, but you're playing with each other. And that's the massive difference between board games and
Yeah, so I think you've made a really good point. It's is it about money? That's kind of going off on the point that you kind of threw in there, Justin. Is our value system just a bit wrong or completely right? Because if you've got a lot of money, then you can do lots of things.
Maybe that would be an Aberfeldy game. Wouldn't be about making the most money, but about building community.
How would you? Okay, so I'm going to push you on this, just because I've got a feeling from the colours that you kind of wearing, that you may be a little bit creative as a person. How would you kind of quantify? How do you know somebody's doing well in the game? How do you? Yeah, what that would look like?
I guess maybe how many connections they have.
Okay.
Contacts, friends, people. How many people they know on their street.
Okay.
If you know the most people.
What if someone's a social introvert, or they don't like to interact? How would they win in the game?
Do you get double points, or if you engage a social introvert, or?
Well, I guess it could be 1-to-1, because I guess people who are not who are more introverted maybe like to connect one-to-one, so it could be number of connections rather than, I don't know.
Okay, you like it. How would you engage an introvert? Like, would you get like negative points for like bothering this poor person who just wants to be left alone?
Just in their bubble, and then you just got someone just coming and interacting.
Maybe the points are about how you interact with other people, because not everybody's going to want to be part of a collective. So it's about emotional intelligence, so how you might deal with other people and their particular traits.
There's a lot of clicking coming from this side of the table, so I think you're onto something there, people. This is the inception of Aberfeldy, the board game. So I'm going to come to Justin and then I'm going to come to Samira.
I when you were speaking then, I was just thinking about Facebook and how people try to get maximum number of friends and stuff. Surely it's about quality, not quantity.
Okay, so a game based on quantity of contacts and sensitivity to other people's styles of communication rather than quantity. I mean, do you think that's something that you'd play with your friends? Would they get down with it, or would they be like, I don't get it? What?
I think to begin with, they probably wouldn't understand it, because even I don't process it. Like, I'm not processing it. But I also think instead of basing it on like money and stuff, you can base it on like the amount of experience someone has. So for example, if you take the game of life, you can base it on who's, I don't know, done the most, who's like not even just spoken to the most people, but like visited the most events, or like done stuff which are out of their bubble, or like out of like their norm. And you can base it on that, like by the end of the board game, who has like the most cards of experience rather than like anything else. Yeah.
I really like it. Okay, people, so you are the working group for making this game happen. Obviously, we're here. We've got like some kind of things like that we can play with. Obviously, there's John's workshop over there. Maybe if you go to... what do you think about this game? If your mom kind of put out a game where you play like you're a character and then you try to get as many different experiences, would you play that kind of game instead of points?
Yeah.
Yeah? Great. And what kind of things out of your own bubble, things that you maybe don't like doing, what do you think should get like the highest score?
High score 10?
Yes. 10 would be high score. I would agree with that. I mean, what kind of experience would get you 10 points?
Um,
What kind of thing? Going to the dentist maybe, or braving it?
Play a game.
Yeah, fine, fair enough. Thank you, Ezra. Yeah, very, very good. So, I mean, what would earn 10 points in this game? How, like, what do people think? Like, what are the kind of like Uber experiences for you? I don't mean Uber Eats or anything like this. I am not endorsing any company here. It's just an expression.
What kind of experiences?
Yeah.
It depends on the experience. Life experience, or it depends on the experience. Because is it life experience? Is it an experience like that equates money? Like you're going skydiving, you're gonna have to pay for it, or something along those lines. Or is it experience there where you've overcome something that's happened in your life that thought you would have broken you, but you know, like there's what kind of life, how do you define life experiences?
Well, this is it, that's the question, like how do we define it? Is this something personal to you? Is the game just going to be like really kind of introverted? Like, oh no, because it's a big experience for me, it's fine that you don't see it like that, but you know, but then how do we kind of quantify it? Like, do we want to quantify it? Like, how do you win that game? The game of life, how do you actually win it? And what would it be called?
Maybe like, because I once played a board game in 2019 called Pandemic, ironically. I know, we didn't do well on it. But the interesting thing with that game is, no, it wasn't, the point wasn't one person winning, we had to work collectively to save the planet. So it was actually all based on cooperation rather than one person being in the lead. We didn't do well because as our family we're very competitive. But it was a very different way of playing a game. We had to work together to plan how we deal with a challenge or, yeah.
So what happened to the planet in the end? Are you leaving? Okay. Was this story a bit too much? Because for you, they didn't save this. They didn't save the planet. Yeah. No, but thank you so much for stopping by and getting involved. But do give us your final thoughts. Like, what are you going to come away with, and also
This is, you know, this is an experience. See, a part of the board game. I've never done this. I find it so.
would you award it in the game?
1,000, because it's like, yeah, this is amazing. Yeah, you should have it in the middle of the street, like just get everyone, yeah, in the garden somewhere, just get people to come in. It's amazing, honestly. Yeah.
I'm glad you say that because we do this every month on Aberfeldy Street. So come again, come again. Vanita will tell you what is what. She knows all about it.
Tell me, you know, about it, and it's amazing. She's been raving about it, so. Yeah, she's got a fan, 2 fans now.
Okay, great. So that's double points for the people who speak here. Vanita, what about your final thoughts? What are you going to come away with?
Follow your vision. That's it. Because just knowing John Baker, he definitely did. Yeah. So that's going to be a constant reminder for me. Whether you got yays or yeses or nos, or I think a vision is unique to you. Only you know. So follow your intuition, follow your vision. That's it. That's all I can take from you.
Yeah. Thank you. Follow your vision. Any final thoughts from you?
No.
Was there anything that we said here that kind of made you think, or?
I like pictures.
Yeah, they're pretty good. You like the pictures? They are cool, actually.
Are you an artist yourself? Do you do pictures?
I do pictures and football.
Maybe you should have your next exhibition here, or a football game, just like a micro one. Something to think about. But thank you so much for rating our snacks as well, and we'll try to do better for the next one. Thank you very much. Are you off? Well, give us your final thoughts and first and last thoughts as well. See you girls. It's okay, we've got time. You can chew. I can just fill it in.
Thank you so much for organising this event, and it was really, really good to come and listen to all the things, the beautiful things that people had to say about John, and it was really moving, and I'm really grateful to have known him for the time I did.
Thank you very much, Ella, and thank you for shedding some light on your work as well, because you're a lamp maker, aren't you? Yep, so just a little joke there. Anyway, any final and initial thoughts from yourself? What's your name?
I'm really scared of this microphone. I usually sit next to John in silence at the table. I met John in this space when it was evening class, and we hung the door, which maybe is gone now, or it was the door into the garage, but I met John and he helped me replace the door, and that's where we made friends. So it's nice to be back in the space. Thanks for hosting a time to remember him.
No, thank you so much for getting involved. And this is Talkaoke. We're here every month, and if you're worried about speaking on the mic, everyone else is too. And then they've done a few times, and then they just don't worry about it anymore. But thank you so much for stopping by, and have a lovely evening, girls. Take care. Okay, so this is Talkaoke. It is what it is, and people come and go, and this is what happens. There may be people coming, there may be people going. I do have this proposition to somebody who would like to have a go in the middle. Would anybody like to have a go in the middle? Because as you can see, it's not high stakes. It's actually pretty kind of like easy crowd. And Jenny, how do you feel about this? So that's the point. You don't have to be good at this. You can just, wing it. Anyone? Or I'll just carry on. Okay, so give us your final thoughts, Claire.
Well, I feel really bad because I got here quite late, but it was nice to hear those lovely sentiments about John. And I think, final thought, always be curious, always be open to new ideas and experiences. I think that's what John was all about, so yeah.
Are there any experiences on your bucket list that you still want to kind of experience? Anything for the game?
Anything for the game? What, that I would do in a virtual world?
In a kind of like real life virtual, whatever the format of this game that we were discussing, the Aberfeldy, make the most connections and make the most experiences.
I don't know. Fly? Yeah, if I could do that in the virtual world, that would be good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you can do a virtual skydive, and it's amazing. I mean, you look down, it's pretty frightening when you look down. I've seen people do it. I've seen the film that you watch, but I've only watched it in 3D. You can watch it on YouTube actually. Yeah, but then you get a sense of what it is like. And when you look down, it's scary. The ground is a long way away, and the fields are pretty small, and it's scary. I was getting scared. When you're in the plane there, it's very different to on the ground now. Talking about it on saying, yeah, it's on my bucket list. When you get in that plane and then you look down, it's very different when you're up there.
Okay, so skydiving on the internet. It's 7 o'clock as well, just so that everybody knows, so everyone's aware. Okay, Claire, is that your final thought as well?
That's my final thought.
Thank you, Claire. Goodbye. Have a safe journey back to south of the river. Robert Hive, I think you said.
Oh no, I wanted to say that I can go in the middle.
Do you want to have a go in the middle? Yeah, let's do this. Let's just do like a little stint for Laura in the middle. Give her a little round of applause there. Yeah, you can do better than that. Come on. Yay, thank you. I'm just going to come out this way. There is no headset mic. Oh, someone needs to do some more stretching. That's me. Grab this mic, Laura. There's the table. And have fun.
Hi guys, my name is Laura and I've only done it once before, so let's see how that goes. This is Talkaoke and we talk without agenda about anything you like. What were the... I guess I'm gonna go a round of names just to make sure that I remember everyone's name.
Jenny.
Justin.
Caroline.
I'm Margot.
And my name is Laura. What did we talk about today so far, so I can do a small recap? Well, we talked about John, obviously, about local heroes, about board games, virtual reality, snacks, what can it be? I had a question when I was outside, and it's not my opinion, so I can say it when I'm inside, because I don't know if you knew, but the only rule about Talkaoke is if you're a host in the middle, you can't share any of your opinions, which is really difficult. Especially, I guess, I'm one of the people who really like to make statements. But my question was, is there a possibility for this format, the Talkaoke format, to be in the virtual reality for people who are scared of joining the table and speaking on the mic? Can it be like a little bit of a trial on a virtual reality headset to go with it?
You know, actually, funny enough, we did have Talkaoke table built in virtual reality. I can't remember which program it was. It was with the young people from Newham, and they actually genuinely built a Talkaoke table. But it was just a bit difficult to participate, just because I don't know. I found it just a little bit nauseating, because you kind of had to move through 3D space with these glasses. It was just hard. It was very hard to focus on the conversation whilst trying to almost like learn how to exist.
Oh. Yes, John?
Sorry, Justin. But were you not sitting around a table? Were you in some sort of virtual landscape? Then that's not Talkaoke then, is it? You sit around, surely you sit around the table. You could all be in all over the place, but there you are interacting with each other as we are doing now, just virtually. I mean, we could all be in our homes now doing this. We just have the headset on, and it would be the same, wouldn't it?
Would it be the same? Would it be better? Would it be worse? Jenny?
I think, when this was on Zoom, it's not on Zoom anymore, is it? But when this used to be on Zoom, that is kind of what you were doing, in the sense you were on a Zoom call, but it's just like an advanced version of that. So I think it has potential, because it had potential to run online, which means if it was in a VR place, I think for me traveling here is quite far, so I think more people would be interacting, which means you'd be getting more views from people from all over the area, not even just the local area, but the wider area, because more people would be oh yeah, let's check this out, or let's give our opinions and stuff. So I think it has a massive potential, because despite not having a physical interaction, the amount you're gaining from meeting somewhere from elsewhere, or meeting people from other places, kind of counters for the fact that you're not directly sitting with them, but you're just sitting with them in your own little online world.
So how would it work? What would you see in those virtual reality glasses? Because I'm trying to wrap my hand around it. Would you see faces of other people? Would you just see lights symbolizing other people?
You would see avatars. People would choose how they appeared, and you possibly would hear their actual voices because the headphones, you can talk into it and you would hear the actual voice, but you choose how you're represented. I mean, yeah.
Yes, Margot?
I mean, I would quite like to be able to like choose a different kind of, just choose my look, or like, I could be an elephant right now. I think that'd be like really funny, like with my own voice. I'd like to do that, but I think when we did the virtual reality experience with Talkaoke, the technology just wasn't there, so it was just really clunky. But I would love to be able to sit next to someone and for it to feel like it's real. But I'm just not sure whether we're going to get that in my lifetime, because there's something. No, we won't. No, I'm just holding. No, yeah.
Yeah, that's.
But I think the thing to do is to represent yourself as yourself. It's a distraction, I think, to try and be something other, looks like something that you're not. There's always a temptation to, but it's most useful if you look like yourself and I look like myself, and then it's a natural conversation.
So would that be a rule that you have to create an avatar that actually looks like you, or would you be able to just do something completely crazy like being an elephant sitting around a table? I really wanted to say what I think about it, but I won't, so you will not know.
Say what you think.
Well, maybe when I'm outside the table. Jenny?
I think it should be a rule, because I think the whole point of this is to like gather around and like have a connection, but you can't connect to like an elephant. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I think it should be a rule to look very, if not exactly the same, but very similar to how you are. And I also think it would work, because like if you take like, I don't remember like the graphic like games and stuff, but you have very similar stuff to that which are already implemented. Or like if you take like Discord servers and stuff like that, they do very similar stuff to sitting around and talking, but they just might have more structure to what they're talking about, for example. And I think that would be like the only difference. But I think, yeah, you have to be able to like be you. You can't be someone else, because in reality you're not someone else. So yeah.
Yes?
Is that not Instagram?
What do you mean? Sorry.
Well, or social media, other platforms are available. I guess I'm very aware when I particularly interact with Instagram that I'm seeing a version of people's lives that's very curated, and even with like filters and stuff like that, obviously people still look roughly like themselves, but they can look very different, like the cat ears and things like that. So I don't know. Are we not already on that journey of we all kind of curate and present images of ourselves? Yeah, don't know.
All right, so are you saying that what we're seeing on social media is far from how we actually look like in real life?
Sometimes, potentially. I mean, I definitely, when I interact with social media, put forward a certain image, of my life that's maybe not the complete truth.
All right, yeah, I'm just gonna, good.
I think like going on to that point though, it's very much on who you choose to interact with. Like if you choose to interact with like, I don't know, like the Kardashians, who are known for faking who they are, you are going to get a feed full of fake people. But if you interact with like people who you know are like authentic and are advocates for like, I don't know, being real and being you will get more of that. So I think it's down to you and down to your like, obviously the algorithms determine what you see, but it's like down to that to determine like what you are interacting with. And then I also say, if you're linking it back to like having a Talkaoke, like a VR version, because this is all about being real and being raw and being open about who you are, it should be a criteria that you look like what your avatar, because otherwise you're not actually gaining the core purpose of this, which is to have like a social interaction interaction. So yeah.
All right, Josh, your thought?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, given that you know yourself, that you portray just maybe the positives and not so much the negatives, and probably most other people doing that as well, why do you interact with it at all then? I mean, famously, Margot knows this, I'm not on any social media at all. I can't see the point of it. If it's not truthful, why do it? Why do you need to put your life on the Instagram? What's the point of it? I don't get it. I'm not on it. I've never been trolled. I don't have a smartphone. Margot knows this, but I don't get it. And people have said to me, Justin, God, you're so lucky. You're not on any of this. And I say, well, you can be the same. You know, it's a choice.
You can be a social media hermit too.
Yes.
I just no, I'm joking, obviously, but I think it's a brave, but also like just like why be on social media in the first place, you know? Because I feel like what's happened is like social media kind of morphed into something like different now. And I know you're saying that when you do the Talkaoke or whatever it is, the experience or Instagram, probably you should represent yourself to the best of your abilities to look like what you look like in real life. But I had this experience actually this morning. I was on Tinder and I connected with this guy, and then when we moved to WhatsApp, which is kind of what we do, he said, "Oh, can you send me some more pictures of you? Just because there are so many fakes on what did I say, Tinder." And I was like, "Oh, I didn't realize it was such a thing." But apparently, it's a thing. There's a lot of fake kind of people, and obviously, maybe it's a different experience when you're a woman on Tinder. Anyway, so I sent him a photo, and I was still like wearing my glasses, doing stuff at computer. Still slightly, just like during my first coffee, and I haven't heard from him. He couldn't handle it. So I just, it made me think of, you know, what is the purpose of representing ourselves in a particular way? Is Instagram for representing ourselves in a genuine way, or maybe I could be an elephant because actually that's the point, to, you know, to be someone else. I don't know.
So what couldn't he have?
Yeah. The picture of me, the reality, exactly, of me in the morning without makeup, without anything. I know.
Oh wow. No, I was going to say, going back to the question of why are people on social media if it's fake, I feel like you have to be. At the end of the day, I only found out about the Talkaoke through social media, right? If you guys weren't on Instagram, I wouldn't have found out about you. But it's also, it's kind of to an extent, it's how you network. It's how I found out about so many of the jobs that I like apply for. And if I wasn't on like Instagram or like LinkedIn or any form of social media, I wouldn't have really found out about that. And that's where I think times have changed. Like back in the day, like you guys would like, I don't know, go to people to like find opportunities, but now if you're not on social media, you won't grow, you won't be heard, like you won't be known to the same extent. In the sense, you might stay small, but you can't like grow as quicker or as at ease. Like you have to be on social media. Like for me, I do digital marketing and I do digital art, but I know if I didn't post on social media, I wouldn't be able to grow. So yeah.
All right. So to recap quickly what you guys said, because it's quite a lot about the social media persona that we represent, and should it be close to how we actually are in life, but we tend to just create the vision that we want to present to other people, no matter if it's just the filters on Instagram or making a whole elephant creature. Yeah, your thoughts about it?
Yeah, so I actually I'm off Facebook now, but I didn't post on Instagram for like nearly 2 years, because for that reason I was like, why am I doing this if it's not making me feel good? And now I'm slowly doing it more, but for your reasons. I make a lot of art in my spare time, and it's a great way to sort of share with my friends and other interested people stuff that I'm making. So now I only really use it for that. I'm not really like posting pictures of my home or, oh, I had a great night out last night or anything like that. It's just like stuff I've made, and it's that's now what I try and use it for. So I try and be a bit more conscious And I now unfollow people that I feel like aren't making me feel good about myself.
So it's more about not how you look, but what you create on social media for you. Is that right?
Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm baffled and bemused and fascinated by the experience that you've had today, Margot, not having had any experience like this myself. Because you've been, I think you were a bit upset by this, or you said he hasn't called you back or whatever. So you've gone on and had this experience that's just caused you upset, and nothing else has come out of it, it seems. But you didn't have to do that. You could have just had your day just with yourself, and you didn't have to have this interaction, did you? It was your choice, and it's caused you a little bit of upset that what happened, or you're saying he didn't call you back, so you're a little bit miffed. But that didn't have to happen, Margot. You didn't have to have this. Your day could have been without this slight thing that happened to you, if you'd chosen to live as I do.
So
thank you for that. No, but I mean, I think if you choose to engage, because completely agree with you, it's a choice. If you choose to engage with social media, be it to share your work or make a genuine connection, or what seems to be a genuine connection thing these days, I don't know. It's a choice. You don't have to do this. I don't think it upset me. I think it kind of framed my expectations a bit more. I thought, maybe, if it goes well, then we will meet up and, have a good time or whatever. But for me, it was more like information, just like reality check, actually, about the world that we live in. And the world that we live in, I'm not upset about it. I'm not, I didn't put too many hopes in this interaction. However, it just gave me, yeah, but
Disappointed.
No, yeah. Just in a way that I've never met the person, so it's very hard to have some kind of expectations of them or that interaction. So to be honest, I'm more kind of intrigued by, the paradox of the situation. Somebody telling me that, there's full of fakes out there and people don't post their real pictures, or they look much older than what they show in the pictures, or that, transsexual people there who kind of, pose as whatever gender. That's what I heard from that person, and yet I just think it's just actually quite funny and a little bit just, this is 2022. That when you post a real picture of yourself that's just not meeting somebody's expectations, I just find that fascinating actually. But I'm not upset by it, but that's the world really. So it was vital research actually, really.
did he look like on his pictures on Tinder? You don't know that?
It's hard to know because he hasn't replied, because I said, let's see your pictures. He could be catfish, exactly. Yeah. Oh shit, I think of that.
Oh wow. That's really interesting, like the world of like the social dating versus meeting people in real life. So, Justin, the first one, I got it right. I apologize. I'm terrible with names. How you said Margot should live how you live. No. How do you live your life? How do you meet people for dates? Yes, dating tips.
Well, no, I can't give any dating tips. Fortunately, I've been in a fulfilling, loving relationship for nearly 20 years. So all this is completely lost on me, and I don't need to engage in all of it. I'm lucky. I don't need to engage in any of this. So. But yeah, I don't do any social media either. I hear what you're saying about promoting your artwork or getting your. I hear that, but that's more of a career thing, isn't it? It's a career tool, or just making people aware of your work. I get that.
Yeah, yeah, and career, but also it's just like that's. Oh, thank you. Spend a huge amount of my time doing stuff like that, so it's nice to share that. Also, the other thing I will say is I've got a lot of friends who live abroad, and I do kind of keep in touch with them other ways, but yeah, particularly during the pandemic, it does help me feel connected to friends that don't live in the UK. And just getting a sense of like what they're doing with their day, it is nice. But yeah, I'm just trying to be a lot more conscious of the tool that I'm engaging in, rather than doom scrolling for 2 hours whilst watching Netflix on the sofa. Doom scrolling. Well, actually, it's more to do with the news, but it's just when you're like just scrolling through news and it's all bad, and you just kind of get into this like cycle of like, oh, and another thing, oh, and another thing.
But don't you just...
This is if you have a smartphone.
Yeah, but don't you just like, I don't know, look at the BBC News, let's say, other news networks are available, but don't you just sort of look at the headlines? Why do you... I mean, news is generally bad. I mean, that's the nature of news, isn't it? If it's not bad, it doesn't make news. But doom scrolling, I don't get it.
I guess a lot of these platforms are designed to keep people engaged, like their kind of metric of success is keep people clicking, keep people engaged, them, and you just sometimes get sucked in, and you click on a headline, and you click on another headline, and then 2 hours has gone past. It's not a good use of time. I tried to stop it. Margot is stretching, so after...
It's like a two-hander.
Yes, I'll come to you.
I want to share a piece of news which I saw on the BBC this morning, which I don't know if it's doom scrolling. I don't know if it's good news or bad news. Anyway, the news was the oldest man who... the dirtiest man died. And what is meant by this, there's some guy who lived in the mountains somewhere in the Middle East who hasn't washed for years, but he washed a few months ago at the age of 94, has died. That made the BBC News. Is this doom scrolling? I just want to get some advice.
Yeah, so all the reasons we use the social media for the self-representation, showing our art, dating, communicating with people across the borders. Yes, relationship, the hygiene, what is really the important news we should read every day? Jenny, you had a point.
I was going to say more so with like the news and stuff, I find it like, for me, I use like TikTok. So I will start using TikTok with like good intentions, you know, just like a 10-minute thing. And then I'll just keep scrolling on TikTok for like more and more endless content. But I also think though social media does that intentionally because platforms know unless they can retain customers or like users, they can't maintain money because obviously you need customers, like you need people using your platforms to grow. And I also think that's where like it goes down to the people that you follow again, in the sense if you're constantly following like stupid like content, or like if you're constantly following content which is just like, I don't know, a waste of your brain, you are gonna, every time you go on TikTok, you are gonna just be, I don't know, like not gaining anything. But if you do train the algorithm per se to be more catered for what you want, so like, I don't know, positive stuff or like stuff that, I don't know, connects with you, you're more likely to actually gain something beneficial out of it. Like everyone always says, oh, social media is bad, full stop, but I don't think it's bad. I think it's how you use it that makes it bad or makes it good. Like for me, it's been really beneficial because it's helped me with like so many random stuff, not even like just like opportunities of sharing my work, but also just like in general, you build up like different communities for different areas that you might not have been able to speak to like if it wasn't for social media. So yeah.
So all the things that we have thanks to social media, and Jenny saying that it's not either good or bad, but it's really what we make out of it. But also we have to be very careful because all those companies are tricking us into spending more time on social media and this kind of virtual reality. But at the same way, it's the only way to go forward. So what do we do? How do we connect with people in real life anymore? Like, what is it? You said you don't date anymore, so you can't give any advice because you're luckily in a happy relationship. But what can other people do if that's the only way now to meet other people or sell art or, you know, tell everyone about Talkaoke around London, because otherwise no one reads the newspapers, or maybe newspapers are coming back. What is it? Like, what are your opinions?
What I would say, Caroline, you say that you.
Okay, back to that.
No, it's just that Caroline, just prompting from something Caroline said, that you just start scrolling and 2 hours has gone by. Why not just have a discipline? Say, okay, I'm going to engage with the news for 15 minutes. At the end of the 15 minutes, I'm going to carry on doing my painting. And you stop after 15 minutes. So you've got your headlines and that, and then you've had a discipline to just stop and not just get sucked in, as you've said.
Caroline, how can you answer that?
Sure. I'd say I'm a lot better now. This I'm particularly talking about like during the pandemic where time was limitless and I couldn't see my friends and was quite fixated on what was going on in the world with the pandemic. So kind of coming out of that, that's been something I've been trying to curb, and that's why I didn't post for ages. I was like, right, I just need to like have a detox. So I'm better now, but yeah, definitely during the pandemic got a bit addicted, I think.
Time that you engage with this for, and at the end of it, that's it. You go off and do stuff in the real world.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd be that regimented, but I definitely I don't do it as much now because I'm just busier. I'm out and about more, so I've got less idle time. That really helps, I think. So yeah.
How would you do it? How are there any ways to track this kind of time? Do you need like an alarm to remind yourself, or you just?
I mean, I would listen to a news bulletin on the BBC, say like the Today programme. You have the news bulletin which lasts about 8 minutes, and then they go off and talk about some aspect of the news. But I find that a good discipline. You listen to the 8 minutes, and then when they say thank you, and you may wish to engage if it's something really in the news that you want to carry on listening, but I think that 8 minutes, that's my discipline. So I'm not setting my alarm or anything, I'm just going by what the bulletin, how the length of the bulletin.
And I'm very curious, what do you do with this extra time that you don't waste on social media? Because you say, you know, for all the people that spend so much time on social media and then kind of filling up their day, what is to be done other than spending time on social media and connecting with people? What is it?
There's a whole world of things to be done, Lara.
Like what?
Like going to Talkaoke, reading books, going to the cinema, going to the mall, anything, you know, physical things in the physical world.
Margot, your point?
I've got 2 points very quickly. One is on the point of news. Last night I got home, I was quite tired, I was having dinner, and my friend texted me. He's an English guy, good friend of mine. He just came back from Poland recently. He was volunteering on the eastern border because of the war with Ukraine, between Ukraine and Russia. So he was all kind of immersed in that, and without saying anything to me all day, in the evening when I was just having my dinner, he said like, oh, Poland is buying more tanks. I think they're going to be a major player in the war. And I just like spat into my plate as I was eating soup. And I'm like, if I wanted to know this news, I would read news. I don't need you to bypass the, you know, my access to news. I don't need you to give me like fear-mongering news to me. You know, like, I just felt like there's no escape. And so I told him like, can you like, thanks for letting me know, but like I'm just eating right now actually. Anyway, so that was it. That was one thing. And second thing is, how would you want to be remembered on your social media or real life? What do you think people are going to remember about you?
Well, how would you like to be remembered on your social media? Well, may I ask you first?
Well, I'm not on social media, so but actually, I'd like to be remembered as a person that didn't use social media.
You're effed up.
Yeah. Like,
I think it's quite an achievement.
yes.
Lots of people coming to visit your grave because they'll be like, oh my God.
Yeah. But they would only find out about it from social media, probably, or not, or maybe on newspapers. So are people getting upset if they receive information that they didn't ask for? Is that something that should be speak about louder, that if people consciously, like Justin or Margot, doesn't go on social media to read certain news and someone else just comes in real life and tells them about it, is that something to be upset about it, or is that reality that we all have to face? Like how to feel about it?
Well, actually, Margot, I was quite fascinated by that piece of information, because that's not necessarily something you'd hear on the news. That's kind of insider information. And whilst it was uninvited, I find it quite intriguing.
Caroline?
Similarly to Instagram, I'm trying to check my WhatsApp, because that's the social media, less regularly, so being like less available. So sometimes I won't check it past 9 o'clock, because that's kind of like, you know, before kind of phones, you wouldn't really call someone that late at night necessarily. But I think it's fair to say, like, I'm eating dinner at the moment, just, you know, I know you're really amped up about this, but set some boundaries. Yeah.
Oh, yes, they're having the space at the time for certain things, like the Margot.
No, but I think it's true. It's about kind of allowing that space to kind of digest information on your own terms, because sometimes, you know, yeah, it is insider story, but it's not an insider story for me, because I can read Polish newspapers, so it's not a big deal for me. Like I immerse myself in Polish media, and actually, really weirdly, right now there's not that much going on about the war, which to me it's not a very positive sign, because I think previously, when everything was just like, you know, fresh and news, like it was, you couldn't stop the articles, and now Ukraine is like item number 5 on the list sometimes. And to me, you know, and on the day, anyway, I'm not going to go into that, but you know, so there's that. But I'm choosing not to engage with that piece of news just because it upsets me so much. But obviously, my friend thought, oh, well, she's Polish, she's gonna get it. I'm showing some interest. She must be interested in that, and here we go. But I think it's important to kind of think twice before you share something, just because it's so instant. And I think with WhatsApp in particular, we don't do that. You just, I'm thinking it, I'll send it. Whereas before, yeah, 9 o'clock, it's a bit rude to call after 9. People may be eating dinner or going to sleep. We don't think that like that anymore. People need to be available 24/7, it seems.
Now the headline says the men who didn't wash for 60 years. Yeah.
I remember once I've got a family WhatsApp chat with all of my sisters and my parents. And do you remember when there was the petrol crisis? My mum shared a news story, and my sister was like, "Mum, stop sharing fake news." And it was about the like person who'd use a plastic bag to fill up petrol, and it was actually not from. It was complete fake news actually. And my mum shared it, and my sister called her out. It's funny.
Wow, yeah, fake news, another big aspect of social media. How do you fight with it or just live with it?
It's more like, how do you tell your mom that she's done something stupid? And I really have my mum included in this. My mum is sharing the most bizarre things. I mean, you know, about vaccinations and whatnot. And I'm like, I find it hard to say to my mum, who's still my mum, and to some extent, not an authority, but I have got respect for her. And then the moment you realize that this respect is crumbling because she's, you know, sharing something that's completely fucking stupid, how do you say that gently without offending her? That's my question. Any tips?
But Caroline, how did you know that story about the plastic, the bag of petrol was fake news?
Someone had verified it and time-stamped it to when it'd been taken like 3 years before or something. So someone like verified it and said like, this video has been out in the world for like 3 years. This wasn't videoed. And I think it was also shot in America, not in the UK. So someone did the due diligence on it. And my sister was like, nope.
Yes, that's a very interesting thing that you said about what is fake news, what is and how do you know, how do you recognize? Hello, we have a new person around the table. Before we continue and I recap what we talked about, can I have your name, please?
Selena.
Selena, yes, so we have Selena, Jenny, Margot, Justin, Caroline, and my name is Lara. This is Talkaoke. We also have Rick on his phone over there. Rick on the Pines. On the Pines. He's going through social media, finding out what's fake news, how do we deal with it, how do we know what's fake news, what's real news, how do we connect with people on social media, without social media, how do we present ourselves, shall we present the vision of ourselves that we want to present, which is might be idealized, or do we stick to being very real, who verifies it on on dating apps or on Instagram? How do we connect? We talked about virtual reality, board games. That was before that. But Margot, what are you gonna add?
Probably not that much, but I'm just interested in like how do people stand up to their parents, because to me it's like a big thing. Like I almost had to like move out of the country to be able to stand up to my parents properly. But like how do you challenge your parents? That's just my question. How do people do it? Did you kick your mum off the WhatsApp group? Would you ever do it? Is it like 3 times and after that it's like, Mum, you cannot be in the family WhatsApp group any longer. You've really taken a piss now.
And do you only stand up to your parents over social media? Is that also an interesting aspect of standing up to your parents these days?
I guess start small, like build up to like the bigger issues. But yeah, we do have various so we've got a family WhatsApp group, and then I've got various like inception WhatsApp groups. I've got one that's just my sister. So sometimes it's like, oh my God, have you just seen like bit of peer support, basically, of discussing something that's in the main WhatsApp group.
So do you first seek support of your siblings before you stand up to your parents?
Yeah, I think if it was something big, we would hopefully, I've got 3 sisters, so hopefully we would talk about that together. Yeah, but then also, yeah, one of my sisters is quite direct, so she's quite happy to be like, that's bollocks, so...
So is being direct one of the tips how you can deal with your parents whenever they are sharing fake news on social media? Selena, do your parents share fake news on social media? Are you on social media?
I mean, I am on social media. I think my dad, he shares a lot of fake news just about like conspiracy theories and so forth, and tries to persuade everybody that they're right and so forth. I mean, I don't follow my parents on social media, but they have tried to follow me. But yeah, I just know. Yeah.
You didn't accept them. No. All right, so Justin?
Sorry, Selena, I find that I'm not on any social media, so all this stuff is, you don't follow, so do you follow your parents in real life? I mean, I just don't get it. This following, they don't follow you, you don't follow me. You're with them, you're interacting with them in real life, and Margot, I don't get it. You're saying that you have difficulty standing up to your mother when she sends you this anti-vax stuff. Do you not know that you have difficulty, or that your mother's has this propensity, and that you've had to establish boundaries in real life in the past? It's like you're discovering something about your mother from a virtual thing she's done that you didn't know in real life. Surely you would know this. You know your mother, don't you? I've had difficulty in the past standing up to my mother, and that's got nothing to do with what's happening virtually. That's just how it is, me and her. And surely that relationship existed for you way before all this anti-vax stuff. You've grown up with that, haven't you?
That's a very good question. Do we really know our parents? And is our parents' persona that they create on social media true? Or your mom may be just presenting this kind of persona online and really she doesn't believe it?
Well, she shared fake news in a WhatsApp message, but I think what is happening now, because it's 2022 and people just do that. That is part of their reality. It wasn't a part of reality when I still lived with my parents. My mum said, you need to eat soup. And I said, I don't want to eat soup. That was the kind of level of arguments we had, disagreements. But suddenly, people can share pieces of news which represent somehow their viewpoints and values. I haven't always had conversations with my mother about her viewpoint, about, you know, like for instance, never spoken to her about abortion, what she thinks about that. I don't know. You know, subjects like religion, education, like we don't, in my household, we've never talked about these things. You know, the conversations are very kind of superficial. They're loving and lovely, but, you know, in terms of like what you stand for, what you are prepared to fight for as a human being, never had those conversations with my family. I've got a cousin who's a priest, and whenever I try to have a conversation with him about religion or theology or whatever, it's very hard. We're not used to it. But these are his values. I've got maybe slightly different values. That's not something you discuss over a dinner table. So in a way, it is surprising what my mum shares, but equally, I can have a conversation with her about it. But it's a new territory. That's it.
Yeah, so do we really know our parents? How do we talk to them, get to know them? Is it just everyone has a different kind of relationship, or is it changing? Is it different than it used to be? Margot is talking about how her relationship with mum is changing through the social media and kind of thanks, or I don't know if that's the word, the right wording is thanks to social media. Are you glad that it's evolving this way? What is it? Why there are just so many questions about this kind of relationship on and off of social media, and why is it still such a big issue for people?
I think part of the issue per se arises from the fact that social media gives you access to information that you wouldn't have been able to have access to before. Like, for example, there's some topics like you mentioned before, like abortion and stuff like that. I wouldn't really have an opinion on it in the past because I wouldn't be gaining that information. Like, yeah, you can read newspapers and stuff, but they never talk about controversial topics to that extent. So now that all your family has access to all this information, that's when you start to realize they'll share a link with you on social media, and then you're like, oh yeah, these are areas where our ways of thinking don't align, and that's where you end up having that conflicts between your family that you wouldn't have had before, because before it'd have just been petty stuff like why aren't you eating your vegetables and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? So yeah.
All right, so what is it? Oh, Selena, you want to add something?
Okay. No, I'm good with this topic. Yes. Okay.
Do you have anything to add in this area?
I would just say, off of Jenny's point, yeah, she's right. You know, a lot of people have different access to different things, and then in my family, it's kind of are we all sheep and stuff that people in my family keep talking about and stuff. So we kind of make an effort to all have our own individual opinions and values and views, but then it just causes divisions. So that's what I would say is maybe a negative. I don't know. Yeah.
Yes, Justin?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. But you don't have to, you can still function as a family, a functional family, even if you've got different views which may be quite contrasting. You don't have to discuss certain things. It's useful if you allow, or respect the fact that you've got different opinions, and just to avoid talking about the subjects, because quite often, people may be quite dogmatic about their views. So you just to get on, you just don't have to talk about certain things, do you? It doesn't stop. No one's right or wrong on certain things. You may think that you are, but just to function and to get on, just as you used to do, just talk about soup. You don't have to talk about these other things. And your mother was right. You should eat your soup anyway.
I love soup, and I cook it myself. Mum, if you're watching this, I do make soup and eat it. No, but I think also what we're talking about is this maybe idea of a family being an ideal portrayal of a family where people just get on, you just, somebody made a mistake or they think this, never mind, have some more soup or whatever, right? But we are individual people. I think once you pass that kind of age where you're dependent on your parents, or you kind of go to school and you begin to develop your own kind of critical thinking, you will have really fundamental disagreements with your parents. And it's like, how do you negotiate that? Is it just about, okay, we're just not going to talk about it because I know that if I start the subject of, say, abortion with my parents, that's just not going to go well, not going to go down well. And we all want to have a nice Christmas dinner, what are we doing? Surely it's more about how we're having the conversations and actually helping our parents to have better conversations with each other. Because I think in my parents' generation, it wasn't like that. People weren't having, their families, it's not where they come from. People weren't having conversations in a kind of measured kind of way about, okay, like my parents didn't go to university. Like my granddad didn't start, wasn't able to write or read for a very long time in his life. So, in terms of, I think we take it for granted that we are able to have these kind of informed, educated conversations and accept people's points of view. It's not a given. It's not a given.
So do you think it's all about communication, or is the communication between us still not good enough for this kind of thing in our families, or as friends, as strangers, how can we talk to each other? Is it about being more straightforward, or is it about being more respectful for other people's opinions about stuff? Shall we just have a nice evening and a nice conversation about soup, or is it about making this argument from time to time and disagreeing with each other? And see where the conversation is going. Maybe every house needs a Talkaoke table for Christmas.
I think this point kind of came from the fact that we were talking about how your parents aren't following you on social media, and they're following in your real life, right? But I also think you don't fully know someone until you know them close in your life and you know them close on social media. That's the only point when you truly know someone, because you're seeing both sides of them. And I think that's where with your parents and stuff, I can't lie, my parents don't follow me on social media, and I don't want them to, because I don't want them to know certain aspects of my life from that sense. And yeah, it might mean that we're not connecting in that way, but then you still have the basic connections that you had in the past, where it's not about sharing media and stuff like that. It's more just a typical household connection and communication. So yeah.
So is it about letting people know you all in real life and on social media? Can someone know you really well if they don't know your social media, and vice versa?
Final thoughts.
We are in final thoughts, but Caroline has a point.
Just eating an after eight.
All right, I'll come back to you then. Let's start the final thoughts then. I don't know if you guys need a recap. I think you have a lot to say. Let me know. Margot, is that your final thought?
I just want to big up the After Eights, because this is the first time I have purchased After Eights which are orange and mint. How cool is that? It's pretty cool. I've got your face as well. Just about to wrap up. We can see your blossom, don't worry. But yeah, I don't have any final thoughts. We can do some kind of general chit chat for 5 minutes and then just do the final thoughts.
All right. Anyone would like to add anything in terms of final thoughts or what we were talking about? Sorry, Margot?
No, sorry, because I think the point that you made is an interesting one, how, your parents now follow you on social media, so maybe you have to be even more clever or more, do you think is that kind of your parents following your social media persona? Do you feel like your freedom is a little bit clipped, therefore, because you have to think about how you come across to your parents, or you're like, well, this is me at home, this is me on social media, deal with it? I just wonder.
Yeah, I think it does change, and that's why I have 2 accounts. Because, so I let them follow my work account because that's all like professional. It's just like digital art and stuff like that. Whereas like my personal account, I wouldn't let them follow because that's about my friends and stuff like that. And how I view it is, on my personal account, I'll post pics of me going out with my friends. If I went out with my friends in real life, they wouldn't be there, right? So why do they need to see that aspect of my life? Like if I'm going to the cinema with my friends, they're not going to be there. They're not going to be coming to the cinema, so they don't need to see that I've posted that on my social media. And that's why I think like it's okay to have separate accounts because yeah, they'll see the work aspect of me, but if they're not in my social group, like they shouldn't be seeing my social life.
All right, so is it okay to have multiple social media accounts with different kind of persona on each of them? Is that making us more complex or more fake? What is it? Is it okay to have secrets from your parents, or is it better to be straightforward with them and just say deal with it? Is it something that we need to grow in, or maybe that comes with time, or maybe it depends on our relationship with our parents? Any thoughts about it? We have a new face around the table. Hello. Yes, I'm just gonna quickly share the names around the table before asking yours. So we have Justin, Caroline, Selena, Jenny, Margot, I'm Lara, and what's your name?
Blossom, hello.
Blossom, hello. Yes, Blossom, are you on social media?
I am, yes.
And are you letting your parents follow you?
They do, but not on accounts that I use. Like they follow me on Facebook, but I don't really use that at all now.
All right, all right.
They don't follow my Twitter. They wouldn't know what Twitter is, you know. Or Instagram.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? What are your thoughts on social media and parents?
I'm of an age where it's probably okay, to be fair. So you know, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's. Oh, never. Very dull. Very dull. Very dull.
So that's a safe space.
Yeah, completely. But so someone once taught me that you got to be really, really careful about your social media. So thinking about recruiters, thinking like it's so easy to find information about us, even stuff we might not think is out there in the public domain. People know how to find, and so you know if people are looking for work or thinking about hiring you, like often they will, you know, they'll have a look and they'll find what they find. And so there's almost something about kind of, even if we think stuff is private and even if we think we're only sharing it with particular people, we're probably not. And so, yeah, there's something about kind of being quite cautious. The other thing they taught me was about being really authentic in your social media, right? And developing that brand, but that kind of true voice about developing your bit of that, I suppose.
All right, so is the social media about being authentic and being aware that nothing really is private and people have access to it, so you have to be careful how to be safe on the internet? Caroline, you had a point?
Oh, I don't think I did.
Okay. Margot, you had a point.
I did. It was something from what you said, which is, sorry, my mind just went blank, but let's rewind. You were talking about social media, parents being, they don't even know what Twitter is, and then oh yeah, right. So that's right. I think I don't really listen to Billie Eilish. Yep, Billie Eilish, right. But she did say something which I thought was interesting when somebody asked her, what would you give what kind of advice would you give yourself from, say, a few years ago? And she said, well, don't share everything that you think on social media. And it sounds like, you know, I think I used to, like when social media first came out, it was all about like, you know, just very simply, I've been out with my friends, here we go. These are pictures of us out. But I think that started being like slightly manipulated and, you know, and that's strange. But I don't fully believe in this kind of like personal brand. Like suddenly you living your life anonymously off social media is just not good enough. You have to make it a personal brand. The way I eat the crisps is my unique way of eating crisps. Like, you know, everything just becomes this kind of performance, and I just don't know how I feel about it. I think I don't like it.
All right, so anyone would like to add to that? Caroline.
I think it's just about being like, what am I sharing and why? And am I happy with potentially anyone seeing this? When I moved into my new place, initially I was taking loads of pictures of like stuff I was doing around the house and really excited. And then I was like, hang on, I probably wouldn't invite a stranger into my home and let them look in my bedroom. But actually me putting it on Instagram. So that's when I was like, okay, I need to row back on this and think more carefully about what am I happy being public?
All right, that's an interesting point. Yes, would we invite strangers to our house and to our lives? Would we show them what we eat every day, or how our bedroom looks like, its crisps, how we eat crisps? Is that too private information to share, or is it not? I'm aware of time, and I would like to hear your final thoughts.
Similar to that vein, you do you. I think like, yeah, do whatever feels comfortable for you, and yeah.
Is that your final thought?
Yeah.
Perfect, Blossom.
Oh, I've missed a whole discussion, so I'm not entirely sure I can sum up, but
it's okay. Anything that comes to mind.
There's about social media. So
anything you like. It might be completely out of the topic.
It's fine. So in social media terms, I think there's so much negativity around it, and I just think we could all be using it as a force for goodness, and that if we're all using it in that way, it would be a beautiful, beautiful place.
Thank you so much, Salima.
Social media has increased like global connectivity, made people aware of issues, and although you are like kind of making yourself a personal brand, you're also showing your opinions and your views, and you're helping people also realize like to structure their views and opinions. So I would say it's like a really good thing. So yeah.
Perfect. Jenny?
I think as long as you treat social media how you want others to treat social media, you'll get the good out of it. So yeah.
Yes, and Margot, can I get your final thoughts?
I don't need to put my finger up because it's the final thoughts, but yeah, thank you. I heard somebody say recently that actually social media is about to like end. This is the end of social media, and I really see it because even when you scroll through Instagram, every other post is an advert for something. And I think my friend described it as like, you know, rats on a sinking ship. They just like kind of try to run around and make as much money as it is still possible because social media is getting so much bad reputation. It's just not going well for social media. So now all we're seeing, supposedly, and I'm interested in that point of view, is like the end of social media. But what comes after that, I don't know.
Dum 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 dum. Yes, that's a perfect twist at the end to end on that note. Thank you so much, guys. That was Talkaoke. And my name is Laura. I don't host often, but thank you so much for being my crowd today. And I hope you have a lovely night. Bye.
And well done to Laura for being in the middle for a second time only, ever. So well done, Laura, and yeah, thank you very much, and have a good night, and have some snacks and wine because I'm gonna have to eat. I don't want to. Cheers, people. Yeah, you can keep these, orange and mint. Thank you so much, people, and thanks to Rick on the camera and the pint and social media. Hopefully he's been tweeting all about this. Okay, bye.